You have a decision to make, so naturally you do what anyone with an internet connection does. You look for advice. You read a dozen articles, watch 3 video essays, and scroll through hundreds of comments, hoping someone will just hand you the right answer. But instead of finding clarity, you find yourself completely frozen. The more perspectives you consume, the less confident you feel about taking any action at all. We've trained our brains to treat every personal choice like a public opinion poll. We crowdsource our lives to minimize risk, hoping enough data points will engineer out the fear of being wrong. But as the volume of external data increases, the signal of the right choice drops into background noise. By frantically trying to calculate what everyone else thinks you should do, you accidentally mute the only voice that actually has to live with the consequences. There is a pervasive belief that gathering more data eventually guarantees a flawless decision. But this endless gathering phase eventually stops being research. It becomes a socially acceptable way to hide from the responsibility of choosing. We get stuck in an additive state, constantly looking for one more piece of evidence, instead of reaching a conclusion and taking action. This cycle leaves us feeling unmoored. When you constantly seek external approval, you lose your sense of direction. Solving this information overload requires a shift in where you locate your source of authority. Over 180 years ago, an American philosopher diagnosed this exact symptom of outsourced thinking long before the internet existed. His name was Ralph Waldo Emerson. His diagnosis was that society acts as a conspiracy against the individuality of every one of its members. Emerson compared society to a joint stock company. To be a shareholder, you agree to surrender your liberty and your own perspective in exchange for social comfort and conformity. He drew a line between tuition, the second-hand thoughts we receive from traditions and others, and intuition, which he called the primary wisdom of the aboriginal self. Self-reliance is the internal strength required to maintain the independence of solitude, even while standing in the middle of a crowd. True genius, for Emerson, is the ability to trust that what is true in your private heart is true for all humanity. This conviction allows you to override the consensus of the crowd. Today, that joint stock company is everywhere, routinely diluting individual genius into bland digital crowds. Consider a workplace scenario. You draft a sharp original proposal, but you neuter it into a bland compromise by asking 3 colleagues for their thoughts before you send it. Or a relationship scenario. You feel a clear emotion about a situation, but you immediately doubt that emotion until a group chat validates it. We delay personal projects for months by consuming how-to content, using the accumulation of instructions as a barrier to actually taking the first step. In each case, the desire for consensus acts as a silent mechanism that erodes your identity and kills your momentum. Reclaiming your authority requires the subtraction method, the intentional stripping away of external inputs to uncover the core signal. Intuition is the baseline intelligence that remains standing when the social noise is finally turned off. Isolating that internal signal removes the lag time created by consensus gathering, accelerating your ability to decide and act. Returning the locus of authority to yourself clears the mental fog and lifts the anxiety of calculation. We often circle back to the exact path we initially intuited, only after seeing it validated by someone else's book or opinion. Emerson suggests that the noise of consensus functions as a buffer, allowing us to ignore the wisdom we already possess. Urgent tone. Identify one specific, pending decision currently hanging over your head today. Actively cut off the consensus loop for this one choice. Stop reading reviews, stop asking friends, and end the research. Make the choice based entirely on your own internal reasoning, and accept the risk of being a nonconformist. Emerson warned that imitation is suicide. Reclaiming your decisions is the only way to reclaim an authentic self. You find clarity through the discipline of